Jeff, thank you for coming into our Gerharz podcast. And you are the owner of Link Hospitality Solutions and Place Card Hospitality Solutions based out of Rochester. And you're the co-owner with your brother. And they're placed in Pittsburgh, I think?
Yep. First of all, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Yep. Thrilled to be a part of it. My brother and I are partners, and he handles our Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania office. So officially we cover all of upstate New York out of our Rochester office, and then our Pittsburgh office handles the West Virginia, Western Pennsylvania market.
So for our listeners, and if you like this podcast, please give us a like when you get a chance. But this is our first independent rep, and what happens is, in our industry, most factories have independent reps, and you're our first independent rep to be on our podcast, so congratulations. Can you explain a little bit about that for people that are listening, what it is, and then how many lines you rep? And what
Sure,
you do?
no, absolutely, because it's kind of funny because I always have friends that try to figure out what I do for a living, and I try to explain it to them, and it's never easy because they don't understand what it means to be an independent rep. So I usually use the wing analogy, because we're usually at a bar when we're discussing it, and I say, look, in front of you, you have wings, you have blue cheese, you have celery, and you have carrots. And, the wing company can hire a sales guy to handle a territory, and he's only going to sell wings, and he's 100% of the time, and he's an employee of your company. And then you can do the same for celery and blue cheese, etc. Where with an independent rep, what they do is I now represent a wing company. I represent a blue cheese company. I represent a celery company. And so these manufacturers now pay me just a smaller percentage, but now I have, they don't have 100% of my time, but now I have products that all work together, because a lot of times when you're in selling wings, the customer also needs blue cheese. And you don't compete necessarily within yourself. Like I won't necessarily have two wing lines per se, but you're in selling wings and it's, hey, by the way, we represent blue cheese. It's kind of a simple way to put it, but usually they understand it that way.
And you have how many lines that you represent at the present time?
Well, it's changed a lot over the years, but I'd probably say we're into 35, 36. Usually it's I never answer that honestly, so.
Because it changes, right?
It does. It does change.
And then I think it's interesting that 35 different lines. I mean, you literally could outfit a whole restaurant or a convenience store or college and hospitality, or you could take care of everything they need.
Yep.
So, and every day you're looking and doing with a different factory, a different line.
Well, and that's the idea. Like these, we are in with the same customers. We're dealing together, like with Gerharz and say an end user, and we come in as the professional in a certain category, and then always other categories come up, and then we're able to bring in other categories with us to say, oh yeah, well by the way, we represent this company for that. So one definitely brings in the other.
Right. So you guys got started. How long have you guys been in business?
It's been 25 years ago. My brother and I started this.
And how did you start that? We're always interested because I work for a family business. We're celebrating our 50th year this year, and to hear Dick tell the story about how he got started.
Oh, it's a great, the Gerharz story
really
is a great
interesting.
story.
And and how Central that we bought 3 years ago got started.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing. But how I'd love to hear how you guys got started.
Well, so for us, it's kind of interesting because my brother and I both, he's 3 years ahead of me, so he graduated from college and he went to work for a gentleman who was an independent rep at the time, 30 years ago, Jim Bassett. And what was interesting is independent reps at the time, they only had 7, 8, 9 lines. They had larger territories, and they didn't have to do not that they didn't have to do a lot, but they don't do a lot of the things that we have to do today with test kitchens and chefs and all those things on staff. So my brother went to work for him, and I graduated from college and went to Ohio and started to work for a company called the Kohler Company, a plumbing manufacturer. And my brother called one day because the gentleman had taken ill, and he got healthy and still is today, thankfully, but he wanted out. And he told my brother, hey, do you want to take this over? And my brother called me and said, hey, do you want to take over a rep firm? And I said, what are we repping? And he said, kitchen equipment. And I said, oh, that sounds great. So we, didn't turn back. It was a fear of my dad because we were the only 2 sons, and my mom and dad thought, oh boy, are they going to fight? They're going to be partners. But, here we are 25 years later, and we're still pretty good friends.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It is tough too with family and business, but it's nice he's a little bit farther away too, so you guys cover a lot of
the
territory.
5 hours does help, I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
What is the biggest challenge today that you see? Because it's changed a lot in 25 years. I mean, I've talked to a lot of reps, and we deal with reps every day. and you can hear how it's,
It's changed
the big
ton in
companies
25 years. It's changed dramatically in the last 5 years, though. I mean, the amount of change in 25 years, we've doubled, tripled that in the last 5 years. Consolidation is key right now, of course, and it's with any industry. So all of our manufacturers are, you're seeing a lot of consolidation there with people buying out manufacturers. For example, Middleby Corporation is one of our larger conglomerates that we represent, and Middleby, they own 60 food service companies now. So you really have to deal with consolidation, and it's a little bit of the smaller guys are going by the wayside in any part of our industry. It's one of the things you guys addressed as well with this beautiful facility. You either invest and grow, or you get passed over, and that's been probably the biggest challenge is for us is the growth and the change. But I think whenever you stop changing, you've lost. So we're always changing, but dramatically lately.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the changes that you've seen in the last 5 years are going to continue to change? Or do you think they've kind of said, all right, now we've, I call it that pendulum that, you know what I mean? It was here, and then they swung it all the way over here.
Yep.
And then maybe it finds that middle ground, because it is a lot of change, and it's hard to, like just today, that rep changed twice since our book.
Yeah.
We looked in the book, and I called that. Nope, I changed that line last year. And I called the next person that was a different rep.
Well, if you look at history, which we do sometimes, and there was consolidation once about 15 years ago. Nothing to this scale, but at that time, the whole talk was this is the future of the industry. It's going to be consolidation, but it wasn't done in the right way, and a lot of the lines then kind of broke off back to being independent again. Where here you are 15 years later, and the history repeats itself, but it's more they're doing it differently now, and frankly, I think the COVID situation is going to be what calms this situation a little bit. Us as an independent rep, we become very valuable during times like this, because if you think about it, a factory has an employee that their sales rep that they're paying money, and now they have to decide, do they furlough them? What are they going to do when a downtime? They still have to pay them, or they have to make a decision. With us as reps, we just get paid a portion of our commission, right? So if we don't sell, we don't get paid. So in times like this, it's up to us to worry about our salespeople. The factory doesn't have to worry about us, and they don't have to pay us, because if we're not selling, we're not getting paid. So we're finding just in the last year and just in the last 6 months with the COVID situation that factories are starting to look more to us to outsource more things, because of the fact that they're having an employee can sometimes be an expensive proposition for a factory.
Mm-hmm. Plus, when you guys get, like, I've been to your test kitchen, I see some of the things you guys have done. You guys are much more into it, I think, than sometimes other rep firms, in our area are. It seems like, what have you done to focus, to change the look of reps? Because when I started 17 years ago, it's not like it is today. Like today, you walk in, and you guys are in our test kitchen, we're in yours. We're bringing customers.
Yeah, we have chefs, you have chefs, everything changes.
So that's changed. So can you explain a little bit about that change? Because that to me is, like when you said earlier, people are, if you're not changing, you're falling behind.
You're falling behind, yeah, absolutely.
That to me is the most exciting part of this business. Even though COVID has crushed, and I've said this before many times, COVID has crushed the restaurant industry. But
absolutely.
There's some good that will come out of it. And to me, Zoom meetings and things that we're able to do not in person, and what you guys have to offer is a good thing.
Absolutely. But it's an interesting point you make, because when we first started, our name was Bassett Carragher Associates for so long, and we ended up acquiring another group about 10 years ago, and my brother and I looked at it, and we thought we sounded like a law firm, and that was kind of how it was. It was the old rep firms were the person's last name, and it was this family-type business, but what we saw happening was this, hey, we need to be a professional sales organization above all, which is where we kind of started to create the Link 2 Hospitality Solutions name, a logo, an identity. We saw the fact that test kitchens are needed, and as the same thing with you guys here. If a customer is going to spend $30,000 on a combination oven, they want to come in and try it. They want to test it. They want to try their product in it. And we've, as a rep, have found it absolutely necessary to do that. And what works out well is, you guys having your location here, our location in Rochester, our location in Pittsburgh. So we can handle a customer really from anywhere. And our test kitchen could be filled every day if we had time.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. So I think about it when I was at your test kitchen and there was a customer there. That relationship is so important, and that's what our business is. I mean, I was telling someone yesterday, we have third, fourth generation customers that just come back in and say, "Hey, my great grandfather was here, or my grandfather was here, or my dad shopped here," and we just have that. You guys, that's got to be, because you're not selling directly. You're selling.
Yep, we don't sell anything.
Your product, and you're selling your manufacturers that you rep, but you're not selling the product. You're then turning it over to someone, and I think that's, the listeners, that's the thing that why we wanted to have you on, is because, we go to the you first, then we go to the factory if we can't get something resolved or solved.
Yeah, it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork philosophy. We don't sell anything direct. Our job is to market the lines that we have, and sometimes you're going to have an opportunity where you have a customer that wants a combination oven per se, and certain reps that have test kitchens or certain reps that rep them, and that's all we ask for is that audience for you to bring customers into us. And at the same time, when we have opportunities with customers, frankly, Gerharz is usually the first place we send them because of what you guys are able to do with your drawing capabilities. I mean, these are things that nobody else in this area can do. So it's a great teamwork approach. I think you guys, your look at business is very similar to ours. Yeah. So
with what you guys do, so you have, how many people are in your office in Rochester?
So we have nine of us total. Wow. We have 4 of us out of the Rochester office. So we have, quote specialists and things like that, as well as a chef on staff for both test kitchens.
And then, Matt, you have to go to see every one of these manufacturers every year, probably, right?
We did. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen now with COVID.
But a normal year, a non-COVID year, you guys would you have to report directly to the factories.
A lot of trainings, things like that. Absolutely. Most factories require every 5 years you're there at some point. Some have yearly sales meetings, things like that. But with COVID now, who knows how that's all going to change. But a lot of that, I think, is going to be now via Zoom, things like that. But yeah, it's tough. When we hire a new sales rep, usually for the first year, they're traveling. They're from one factory to the next. Where now I think what's happening is, like Middleby is enforcing their reps to have full test kitchens so that we can do the trainings at our place, or we can do the trainings more regional. So we're working together with other Middleby reps, and we can kind of pull resources together a little bit.
Yeah. And then what happens after the sale? So we sell it, and then you guys have to go out and do the training. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, no, that's almost probably the most important part of what we do. Sometimes people know what they want, or sometimes we're teaching them and hopefully training them with what they want. But once they purchase it, our job is then to make sure that we're in there to demonstrate their staff, make sure that they understand how to use the equipment. It's the same thing with you guys. When you guys sell a piece of equipment, that customer is your customer for life, and we like to look at it the same way. And we as the reps want to be that resource for you too, so that we can help. When your customer comes to you, you know that if it's a line that we represent, that we're gonna help take care of that customer as best way possible.
It's weird. I just had a customer in the showroom, and what's changed for us is the timing. Like, it used to be Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
The customer just said to me, he bought a brand new steamer, and he said, "I'll see you Sunday morning at 8. I'll have it installed. I'll have it done. It's July 4th weekend, but I'm going out there." 1, it's a relationship. 2, I want to make sure he's happy. And 3, that word of mouth, and that, hey, thank you very much, and showing him how to use it. And one thing I've learned, or I've seen, that I think is impressive in the factories is all this authorized startup and these trainings that they're making them do. I think that's important, and I think Blodgett does that, where they make sure that it's serviced and installed by an authorized service agent.
Absolutely.
And that probably has saved you guys some headaches.
Absolutely.
I know it saved us headaches, but...
Well, you're seeing a consolidation on that side of the industry too. Even the service networks are consolidated. There's not as many independent service companies. So, and the manufacturers are insisting these service companies are well-trained and know what they're doing. But you're right about the timing, because when we hire a sales rep, we tell them, hey, look, it's these hours per se, but your cell phone is, frankly, you're going to get calls, and you're going to have to take calls at crazy hours. You're dealing with supermarkets, convenience stores, hospitals, schools, restaurants. Sure. They don't go by normal hours. And especially some of these people that depend on a piece of equipment, if that piece of equipment goes down, they're out of luck, and they need some immediate help. Yeah. So that's what we're here for.
And that helps us on our end compete against the internet, because you can't get that. You're not going to get that.
They're not going to get that on the internet.
You may get a phone call back, or an email saying, "We got your email," or "We got your phone call. We'll call you on the next available time."
Yeah.
The technology part of it, I know Middleby has done a lot on that. How do you guys keep up with that? Because I mean, literally, some things it's amazing what these things can do with restaurant equipment. But also we see, that can be a learning, like you said, a year for a sales rep. We're looking at going 2 years, 2.5 years. Because when you have 30 lines, we have 300 lines.
Oh,
we
exactly.
have to train them on.
Exactly.
That's the hard part. You have tried and true brands that you go to and that you use because the quality and the service and the rep and the they stand behind it. If there's a problem, they'll answer the phone. But how do we shrink that down, or how do you keep up with that technology? Because for us, it's a real struggle.
It is a struggle, and it's a struggle for us as the reps too, where this is an industry that is constantly changing. And the onset of technology is like, sometimes if we're going in to do a demo, sometimes we'll get a control panel. We'll be like, wait a minute, I haven't even seen this thing yet. Yeah. So there's a learning curve there as well. But this business in this industry, food safety and things take such priority that all of the technologies for keeping track of HACCP controls and having equipment that talks to one another, and all of these things are very big Middleby initiatives. They own all sorts of different companies that do that, and their whole goal is that these kitchens are fully compatible and they talk to each other, so a food service director can be home and know that their refrigerator broke down, or their combis has a problem, or something got turned on and turned off, or a door was opened. So this is all critical information for them to have, but we constantly have to stay on top of it. And we constantly have to keep teaching ourselves the new technology, and that's why our test kitchen is very much just new technology. It's infrared cooking, it's combination oven cooking, it's growing cabinets, it's things that we want people to come into our test kitchen and see what's new, and not just come in and see a standard oven. Yeah.
Actually, one of our pieces is that hydrovection underneath the grill stand, and that has been, I just sold 3 of them, and just because someone walked inside of the test kitchen, and that's the things that we like, is when you hit it earlier, if they can look at it, touch it, use it.
Absolutely.
I mean, every combi oven demo we do, someone walks out of here and says, if I can afford it, that's what I want to do. And we've had a great success doing that. Other lines are a little bit more difficult, I think.
Can be true.
Yeah.
I think the easiest line for us in our test kitchen is pizza ovens.
Yeah.
Pizza owners are so particular about their product. They want a crust. They want their crust a certain way. So when it comes to an oven that they've had for 25 years and it's gone down and they need to replace it, they're afraid because they don't want to change the quality of their product. So we have deck ovens, we have conveyor ovens in our test kitchen, and so many times it's pizza shops that want to come in because they want to bring their dough, test their product, and see how this new oven is going to cook. Is going to cook their product that they're so proud of.
That reminds me of a story when I got to go to the Blodgett factory, and it was on the end of, is it Lake Champlain? I mean, literally the most amazing. Right on the end. And there's this
looking
factory,
right out over the lake. Yep.
And we're doing the Marcel oven at that time.
Yeah.
And that literally now, when I just talked to someone this week.
Yeah.
After going through that demo with a pizza owner that has 3 shops, going through the process, going through everything, that's the oven that I absolutely love because I watched it and I saw it.
Oh, and you see the excitement of the
manufactured.
custer when you pull out a pizza and they're like, "Oh, that's exactly what I wanted."
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yes, okay,
right.
we did this right.
And that's part of what you guys do. You know what I mean? You guys set that up, and somebody was with us, and I think that's important.
Well, it's a big part of what we do because like you say, you have 300 companies to worry about, to think about, and yes, 30 sounds a lot to me, but I need to know my 30 the best, but I also need you to trust me and my people so that we're one of the ones you look at, where you say, hey, I know this, A, it's a quality product, B, it gets good support, and C, we have a rep that we know is going to support us if we have a problem. Because frankly, no matter how good the product is, if you don't have all 4 legs of the stool, it's not going to work.
Yeah. We say that all the time. We are literally delivering something on today's really Friday for us, but right now at 3:00, they're delivering something to a customer that said, and he called at 1:00. Because that's part of that, like you said, those 4 legs.
Yep.
And it's important because they can go anywhere. Like we can sell 6 different ranges, 6 different refrigerators, 6 different steamers,
Absolutely.
6 different pizza ovens, 8 different stainless steel tables. But we want to go with the people that we know have a good service network, that have good service after the sale, have good training, have good technology. And that kind of goes to what you do. I mean, all of that is really what you guys preach every day. Do you guys have a hard time saying, okay, this line, I like this line, but maybe I should be with it? Do you ever have your questions in your mind about the lines that you carry?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a great question because early on in our career, we maybe could be a little less picky in situations like that. But one of our philosophies is we will not represent anything that's not at least number 1 or 2 in the name of the industry. It's up there in quality, things like that. But you can, with the changes we've made and the things we've done, you can tend to be a little pickier. But we've had most of the lines we've had for a very long time. We're on essentially mostly 30-day contracts with these manufacturers, but most of these lines we've had for 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah. Right now, the only time things change is when consolidation occurs and suddenly they, shuffle things around a little bit. So,
and that's not changing, you don't think, do you?
No, I think that consolidation's definitely going to continue. I know from a Middleby perspective, they definitely plan to continue that push. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to see a little calming in the industry with everything going crazy, but I think you're going to continue after COVID to see more acquisitions that'll occur and more consolidation of reps, factories, dealers, everything.
Why do you think more people don't get into this side of it? Like, we know
it's
on
our biggest
side,
problem, isn't
we
it?
look at it and say, well, I love coming to work. I have a saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I know your son's here, and I would give that same thing that I tell a lot of people, even my son. If you don't want to go to work every day, find something else. I don't care if it's picking up garbage or mowing lawns.
This is a great industry. This is an industry that, food hospitality will always be here. It's gonna it's gonna have its ups and downs, but I think that's one of the biggest things. I've been on the board of directors for MAFSI, which is our national organization, manufacturers agents for the food service industry, and one of our biggest initiatives has always been how do we recruit young talent into this market? Because I remember when I first got into the industry, it was like Jim Bassett, the gentleman we took over, never tell anybody how old you are, because we were always, I'm 25 and I'm, with all these 50, 60, 75-year-old family businesses. Where now you go to the trainings and you go to these shows and suddenly it's different. There's a lot of younger talent. Chefs are becoming a part of, because a chef, it's a great gig for them too, because they can do what they love to do and maybe not necessarily have the hours of a restaurant, things like that, but we're definitely trying to figure out a way to recruit younger. It's not glamorous, but I tell you what, it's a great industry.
But you're not doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And, for us, and I know it's similar to you, every day you're dealing with a different manufacturer,
You
different
never
line,
know.
different project, different issue, different opportunity. That's to me the most exciting thing, is that you're never doing the same thing every day and you're always working on something different.
Absolutely. That's the best part about it.
Does your day go by like
it really does.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's kind of funny when my son's been interning with us for the last month and a half, and he's commented on how quick his days have gone too, because he likes it, because he's not doing the same thing. But the days do tend to fly by sometimes.
Do you see the reps? Do you see in the future, like 5 years from now, anything changing? I mean, I know there's going to be consolidation and there's going to be changing of different lines, but do you see the role of a rep changing in the next 5 years?
I think you've seen a lot of change already. I think there's going to be less dealers moving forward. I think this COVID situation's really definitely had an effect on some of these larger consolidated dealers, where you guys are in that sweet zone of size and capability. But as far as what we do, I don't necessarily see any drastic changes for us. I think we've gone through so many changes with having the test kitchens and the showrooms, and I could see us a little more active on the service side of things, trying to control service and a little bit more if possible. But other than that, I think we've seen hopefully most of the major changes up till now.
So I have a twin brother who always says, high, low, what do you know? What's the high of the business? What's the low of the business? And, just today, what have you learned?
High, low, huh? Well, I tell you what, the high of the business is that, when something like this occurs, like COVID, you see a V curve, it drops pretty dramatically, but it's going to come back because it's a business that's essential. So, I see a lot of that. The low, it's been rough. It's been a rough couple months for this industry. You're going to lose some fantastic people out there, restaurant-wise, things like that are maybe old, family businesses that have just been around forever and kind of say, you know what, I don't even want to keep going with this. So I think the low side of this is I think we're going to lose some good businesses out there when things go. But But what I do know is that the change is good and it's essential. And if you have to embrace it or get run over by it. And this change is good. The things you guys are doing with these podcasts and the way we communicate. I mean, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for the way we're going to start doing things, these Zoom meetings and, all of that. It's a great way for us to communicate, and I still think there's an important personal element that has to happen. I don't think it's ever going to get fully replaced, but I think it's going to change people's lives a little bit in that sense, where maybe we're not going to be as crazy as we used to be running around.
I think that mixture is important, that balance of being able to have that face-to-face meeting, but also there's options. Like I had a GC call for a job I'm doing, and normally I had to drive a half hour down there, go to the 20-minute GC meeting and drive back. Yeah. And they're like, no, Zoom calls are fine. Zoom calls fine. They actually like it. It's easier for them. They can keep working. To me, that's been some of the good that's come out of this. But the bad, is like today I read an article where they say 3,100 restaurants, in this area may close. Yeah. And that to us is really scary. And it's tough, too, because some of those things that we, in your business and our business, the foundation is, sock it away for that rainy day. You never know what's going to happen. If it's too good to be true, it is. Mm-hmm. If that product isn't, been tested and used and you can really stand behind it, it's probably not the right product for that customer. I know you and I have talked about it. We're never going to sell something that somebody doesn't need. No, we'll talk a person out of a sale before we'll talk them into it.
These are customers you're going to have for years to come, so you want to give them the best.
Do you see the factories like I've heard, what's their projection, 2-4 years where it's back to where it was before, or do you see?
It's changed a lot. As a matter of fact, just in the last couple months, the factory projections aren't nearly as bad as they originally thought. However, that doesn't take into consideration any sort of relapse with what might occur in the future. But I know, like, our factories were worried that the new normal might be 40-50% down business-wise. Where now they're looking more like 20-25% business. And if, depending on vaccines, things like that, then they see things getting back to normal in the next, 2 years tops. Yeah. Where before they were really concerned looking 5 years out. Yeah. But they're all going to change too. They all have sales management and things that are traveling, that used to travel a lot, that they have to look at their business now and say, maybe we need to change some of those things as well.
That's part of our business. That we do a lot of hotels and conference centers and things like that.
Think about hotels right now.
Oh, my Lord. I was talking to somebody today, and he said to me, Mark, it's horrible.
Yeah.
We're going to be all right, but it's, well, they're going to have to reinvent their business.
We have Place Card Hospitality, which concentrates on the, equipment in the back of the house. And then we have Place Card Hospitality, which concentrates more on the front of the house, the furniture, smallware, glassware. And Place Card has definitely taken a much bigger hit than the equipment side, because you think about it, like stack chairs and things like that. We do a lot of hotel business with Place Card side. That's just banquet halls, banquet facilities. They're just not spending the money right now. They don't know what the future is. They don't know what they're going to be able to do. So
that's opening back up a little bit, isn't it?
It's starting to, but they're trying to figure out how to do it, and the rules seem to change daily. So it's hard to know what to do next.
So give me a typical day for a manufacturer's rep. Not that there is any sort of typical day, but...
Typical day is Mark Olson calling first thing in the morning to complain about something that we didn't do the night before.
I cringe when I know those 7 o'clock calls.
Mark's on the
or
phone.
5:30 at night. That's my other favorite time.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is there really is never a typical day in the world of a rep. Mm-hmm. There might be days that, if it's a key customer, like you and I share some key customers that are just so loyal to Gerharz, and you guys have been so great to allow us to introduce our lines to them. And there's some of those companies that we make sure that we take care of. Some of these convenience store chains and things out there that we want to make sure that we're giving them the support that Gerharz requires. Yeah. So a typical day might be, heading to an end user. For our chef, it's going to be maybe going to a location that just got delivered an oven, and they're going to teach them how to use the oven, how to clean the oven. From there, we might be stopping here to make sure your displays are set up, to make sure your catalogs are good, or do a training with your sales staff so that they understand what we're representing. While at the same time, you're fielding calls from consultants that are designing projects, because we need to be able to, get our projects designed in some of these larger facilities as well. So you have a lot of consultants that are, say, designing in a hospital, and we'll be stopping by there to give them the latest, because the thing is they're like the consultants, and even you guys are with your business and so ingrained in your business that sometimes our job is to find what else is out there. What's the latest and the greatest? What do we see out there that we can bring in? And I think if we can do that successfully, and you go to these key end users and show them what's new, then they look to you for their answers. I mean, I always say that to my sales reps, the best phone call you can get is from an end user, key end user that says, "Hey, do you rep anything that can do this?" Because then what they're saying to you is, I know you're a great supporter of us, and if you rep it, I want to know about it. So do you have something that'll do this? Do
you tell your reps to do more on phone than email? Because I'm constantly saying to these guys, an email is fine. Get, blah, 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 I'm working on it. But pick the phone. I want to hear from Jeff. I don't want an email from Jeff. I want to hear from Jeff.
I think it's a generational thing, too, because these kids are so used to communicating the other way that it's like sometimes it's like, well, why didn't you just pick up the phone and call them?
Right.
Like, well, we're communicating via email. And it's but then sometimes when you have a younger customer, they don't want to pick up the phone. They'd rather be via text or via phone or via email.
But see, I've been trying to tell these guys there's these subtle signs, and if you ask a few questions or if you listen, you'll get your answers, or you'll know. When we walk into a client and the first thing we hear is, "I need the cheapest, mixer," then we know what we need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I had this one for 40 years. I want another one to last.
Yeah.
I went on up to Copenhagen last week, and this Bally cooler, no lie, it had to be 40 years old.
Yeah.
And it was beat up and dinged up, and they were replacing it with another Bally. And I was talking to the GC, and he said, "What do you think?" And I go, "It lasted 40 years in Copenhagen, New York, with all the snow and everything. I think you're not going to have any issues at all." But to me, it's you've got to listen to the customer. You got to hear what they want. I use that witty. What is important to you?
Absolutely.
And if
you have to ask these questions,
and you can't do that on an email. You in that relationship. Dick Gerharz started this business. The guy showed up at his house, gave him a check, and said, "Here's what's your beef and manly. Let's get it done."
Yeah.
Didn't ask a price. He just trusted and knew. I was in another end user that wanted a Blodgett pizza oven this week, and he said, "Just order it.
Yeah.
Just tell me what
I know you're going to be fair. I know it's going to be right."
Exactly. And I've had a Blodgett for 25 years. I just want to replace them.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes it's hard to explain to a customer that there's a price to pay for that quality, but that quality will save you money in the long run. And to me, that's where the market or the industry's changing, because we're doing some ads right now. Buy a combi oven, save this much money in electricity costs, get a rebate for that.
Oh, absolutely.
For that thing.
That's for these.
But put in the time, as well as I do, put in the labor hours and all the other savings and the efficiencies in that piece of equipment. That piece of equipment will pay for itself if you do it right and you buy into it a lot quicker than, say, a convection oven or a
cost of
range.
ownership is what we always talk to them about. Is what does it truly cost to own this piece of equipment? Yes, you might pay a little less up front for something that's less, that's cheaper. But if it's going to cost you more to run it, if it's going to cost you more to repair it, what's the cost of ownership more so than just the upfront cost of the piece of equipment?
And they think it's just for the big, I say the Wegmans or the Price Choppers or the Burned, these big. It's not. It's for that service call. We always say to those people that want to buy used, it's 30-day warranty. After that, you're, and we don't want to sell you something that we can't stand behind. But at the end of the day, 30 days is 30 days. And it's $150 for that guy just to walk in the door to tell you it's dirty, it's broken, or it's something, So for us, it's that communication. And getting back to that, I think it's so important to less email, more communication.
I agree completely.
And your consultant point, I think, that's one thing that I think, Anthony, hopefully you're listening to this podcast. A consultant would be a good person to have on this, because that's another piece of this food service industry that not a lot of people know about. We kind of do a little bit of both. We design and consult and design.
Yeah.
And we think it's more important to consult when we're designing. But there's consultants out there that do this for a living that you guys really deal with on a daily basis more than we do.
Well, I had to do a presentation at Cornell a couple months ago, and they wanted me to talk to their entire food service staff. They felt that the staff didn't understand the business. They wanted the staff to understand who's coming into their kitchen, and what is a dealer, what is a rep, what is a consultant. So we sat down and I just gave an hour presentation on that whole thing, and it was interesting because I had so many come up afterwards. All right, now now I kind of get it. It's like you understand, where everybody's role is, and a consultant's a big part of that. And their job is to be independent, and their job is to pick what is the best product for them, for the customer, and that's what the customer is hiring them for. And that's where you guys can come in with your combination of the design build dealer. I think that's what keeps Gerharz growing and different than so many is of your design build. That's what's that brick and mortar, but also having restaurants being able to come in and you guys being able to lay that restaurant out for them.
So when we have been fortunate that Pitco has been one of those long-standing relationships that we've had for. I mean, we have a couple chains that literally they don't even. That's the first piece we do because we know that's what they're going to want. And that's changed with these efficiency and this NYSERDA and National Grid and NYSEG. And can you tell us a little bit about that? Because Pitco was really one of the first ones that kind of jumped on that. And when people think, when I started, when you think about an energy efficient fryer, just forget it.
Yeah.
It just it just doesn't happen. But now they've really cornered that market where we have fryers that people can walk out of here after rebate, tax, and everything for $600.
Oh, it's
brand new.
Absolutely, and that's Pitco saw that. Energy Star, as it was coming along and these rebates, Pitco's always had an energy efficient fryer. That's a tube style fryer, and you're able to do things. They have some patented technology that holds the gas in that tube, so you're using more of the gas. So they've always had such a great. So when energy efficient. So when rebates started coming out, it was very easy for them to take some of their higher end models and get Energy Star and get rebates. So they were always ahead in that ball game. Now recently though, one of the things that you guys have caught on with too is they've gone into the more competitive market too for fryers, and they're one of the first to have a competitively priced Energy Star fryer. So what they did was they took a more basic model body and they put that higher end burner in it so that you get the efficiencies to make an Energy Star. But now you can have a $1,600 fryer that you're getting a $1,000 rebate on. And like you say, it's $300, $600 for a brand new fryer. It's incredible because not only are they getting a fryer for $300 to $600, but they're also going to save a ton of money in the long run because they're going to be using so much less energy. We
had a customer that wanted to use double deck Logic convection oven this week, and we're like, do you understand? You're going to get, and there's a special right now. It's $2,500 off a double set.
Yeah.
So literally, they walked out of here with two brand new, Logic convection ovens, and I think it was maybe $4,000. I mean, that's a lot of money for something that because you're looking at usually 50% of new.
Well, you guys
kind of gambling.
You guys were ahead in that ball game in this region because a lot of the energy companies were coming to us saying, "How do we promote this? We're trying to give away money and it's not being used." A lot of people didn't understand what it was. Where you guys were the first to really come on board with the signage, and you were the first to stock these Energy Star fryers. So when a customer came in and said, "I want this," and you say, "Well, hey, here's something else you want to consider," and I think that's really made it because still some haven't gone on to.
And it's not a gimmick. I mean, literally the convection oven. It was the one that we stocked, the one we liked, the one we wanted to promote and sell because it was a good unit. Oh, and by the way, here's another $1,000 or $1,500. Same with the fryers. Same with the ice machines. Now refrigeration has jumped on. Freezers have jumped on.
They keep expanding the categories.
Combi ovens, steamers. Yeah, I think the more they can do, because I know I was talking to a great Italian restaurant in Liverpool. His utility bill is more than his rent.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I went, oh my God. People don't get it. People look at that and say, oh yeah, these restaurants are.
Well, and we can do utility calculators for them. So we could take a customer like that and say, all right, look, this is what you're using now. If you're gonna switch to this group of fryers, just give me your BTU cost, and boom, we'll give you, hey, this fryer will actually pay for itself in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
There's a great return on investment when it comes to saving energy.
But isn't that weird? We do that in our house. I know with our furnace that we replaced, or a refrigerator, we look at it and say, oh, it's Energy Star, and but people don't think about it and that's why we've been very on the proactive side pushing this. I mean, we have a customer that literally on their quote, everything they order that has something to do with refrigeration or ice or steamers has a rebate on it, and they get it instantly. to me, and we went back because we were a little bit late on some of the things, and we were able to get the money back for all those items that we sold them before. I think it's important that it's that design part, it's that piece, it's
that knowledge that
Yeah.
you guys brought, where you guys were doing that research to know that this is out here.
Yeah.
And so many people weren't aware of it.
But the manufacturers had to stand behind it too. It had to be a piece that worked.
Well,
Going back to that,
even that, the manufacturers were slow on it. Even the
Yeah.
manufacturers didn't fully understand it because they weren't really involved in it. But they were, yes, like somebody like a Pitco was way ahead of the ball game, or a Blodgett. Middleby was very active within that industry. But some of them, some of them didn't even realize certain units of theirs that were considered Energy Star. And when you tell them, hey, look, this region has this rebate, it's like, wow. So,
but like combi ovens, like I remember when I worked for Compass Group, I took over an account. Oh my God, that combi oven cost me thousands in repairs and everything like that. But now, when you think about it, it's the authorized service, it's the authorized setup, it's the authorized after it's done and set up training, and the issues are over.
there are certainly a lot less. Yes, absolutely.
Or if they are, you can plug in the diagnostic stick, find out what's wrong.
Yep.
I was at an account the other day, and they, ID lineman every 30 days and da-da-da-da.
Yeah, then you look and it says, well, actually, you haven't.
Do you know you haven't done it in 6 months? And he goes, thank you very much. End of conversation. And he looked at the guy, and the guy went.
Or some of these locations think that as an owner, and then when you show them, hey, look, this thing shows it hasn't been cleaned in 6 months, maybe someone's telling you it's been cleaned, but it hasn't.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's using technology to make things more simple. And we tell them that with these control panels, because some of these people look at it and go, oh, they're frightened by what they see, but it's really it's the iPhone type touch and go, and it's technology to make things more simple.
It's very intuitive, I think, but it's just that it's different. Because we're creatures of habit when it comes to food service. We like what we like.
Yeah.
I was talking to a co-op guy today, and he goes, "That's what they like. That's what
I've
they're
always
used to."
done.
And that is good because they know what they like, but it can be bad.
Yeah.
Some people need to look at different things and see other options.
Absolutely.
Middleby is kind of in the forefront of that, trying to find those new technologies.
When Middleby buys a new company now, their first thing is technology. They're trying to really make sure that they're buying technology-driven companies because they feel that's where this industry is continuing to go.
But it's still, some of these factories are still very family-run and family. Like I am still. When I went to Piper, I couldn't. I had this vision of something completely different. I walked in, and I think the owner's dog was there.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. But it was a family. We went to a family restaurant after, and to see the factory and to see the workers and to meet the people. I think people need to realize that, why these are huge factories. They're still really family-owned, family-operated. It's still very,
exactly.
Not basic, but very, incredible companies. But they're not like these, like we think of factories and just people, Rosie the Riveter and putting stuff together.
No, it's so much.
Not like that.
It's very hands-on, especially products made in the U.S. It's so very hands-on, and there is so much that goes into a piece of equipment that you never can really appreciate till you go to the factory and see the welding and the polishing and the things that are going into a piece of equipment. It's kind of amazing. But you're right, the factories are very family still, and even when some of these factories are bought out, there's not always drastic changes either. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes there's a nice synergy there, but what they're doing works, so don't change it.
Yeah, we learned that through, when we looked at Central. I mean, that was a 70-year-old company.
Yeah.
It would just had, there was no family. The next generation wasn't ready to take over. So why would you try to just, take apart and dismantle something? Take the good things, take the things they do well, and then maybe look and say, okay, we can improve here, or make efficiencies here, or buy better, or sell better, or
the way you guys went in with Central, I think, was great because there were loyal people on the Central side, and it wasn't just a change overnight. It was hey, here, let's learn, let's see what you're doing, let's learn from each other and take the best of both and put it together. And we
just hope people realize that, because one of the things that came out of this COVID, I've seen where Amazon is just exploding and all the stuff being done online is exploding, but everybody's preaching shop local and do all these things. That everything from where you buy your produce, where you buy your meat, where you buy your equipment, where you buy your smallwares is really, to us, buying local. When you shop on the internet, it's getting on a boat from China, brought across, and it's not.
Couldn't agree more.
It's not helping create jobs, or it's not keeping jobs, or it's not, because it's consultants, it's reps, it's dealers, it's manufacturers, and it's all that, that I think is part of this process that I think is the food service industry that I think is important.
Agreed.
And people need to really It's just not shopping local. It's supporting local businesses that I think is going to bring us back out of this.
No, just look at what you guys have done just in this area alone. I mean, with the building that you took over and what you've done with it, it's fantastic, and it's fantastic for Syracuse. And you know, and I think when all this online stuff started, I think people, you knew it's going to continue, but I don't think it's in our industry has had as bad of a not a negative effect as we thought, because this equipment and layout and things, these are things that you can't get by pushing a button online.
And it's too hard, because if it goes bad, what are you going to do?
How many times do you get a phone call?
Oh my
from
God,
somebody
you're out.
that
You're
say,
like,
hey, right, exactly.
What are you going to do?
Yeah,
and
you'll still support it even if they buy it online half the time, because they're a customer of yours. But the next time they'll be back.
Well, you got to sit in their shoes, and I always say that. Listen, money's tight. If you listen to some of these podcasts, you'll hear some of these other people that they max their credit cards out. That's their livelihood. That's their life. So I get it. You know what I mean? But as you learn and as you grow, that's what we want to be part of, that learning and growth, and expanding and making your business better.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, this has been fun.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
I'm honored to be the first independent rep on the podcast.
It's a way to end it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.